All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the January 15th workshop. This time I called the meeting to order, and first order of business to adopt the agenda. And in doing so, we're going to move the chorus discussion up in front of the reserve projects, and then we're going to add about 4 or 5 or 6 miscellaneous things after that before we do an adjournment, okay? Okay, and then...
Do you need a second for that?
If you want a second, thank you.
We don't need it. You don't need it.
All right, so let's get into discussing the 2018 chorus participation fee and finances.
Yeah, I think, if you don't mind, I'll say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cindy sent everybody out sort of a chronology of how the concert or the chorus came about and how it developed and then how it kind of fell apart during the 2.5 years he was in Michigan State. He took it over about 1.5 years ago in some pretty devastating conditions. There was only just a couple of dozen folks left. The attendance at the concerts were poor. So he's taken this concert back. I think there's 55 folks now that are in the chorus itself. His audiences range anywhere from 300 to 400. He's filling, literally filling compres now. I've had people come to me and just say that he's just taken this chorus to the absolute next level. And so there were some issues were discussed. I met with Steve about 2 weeks ago regarding how we handle those funds for the chorus, and conceivably the way that works right now, or could or should work, or could work, is that income for the chorus will come in 3 pieces basically. One is because the Celebration Choral Group is a CROA program, a Parks and Rec program. We have, the board has authorized funding for that choir through the budget. And I don't know what the number is, but whatever it is. So that's one source. The other source of income is hand donations that he receives at each concert from the people, from the audience. And that actually comes out to some pretty significant money. And then the third proposed income source is a stipend from each one of the singer participants, each one of the chorus groups, or chorus singers, as a way of a buy-in, so to speak, for each person. The crux of the issue, however, with that third part is how much this fee is and how far can it be taken before it starts destroying the choir. Okay? It's been proposed that that figure be $10 for residents and $20 for non-residents. Chris has told me that he's kind of thrown that around, and it will cost him singers at that level, okay, to the point that he thinks it might even cause the demise of the choir. Because if you're charging a non-resident $20 and he and his wife are singing together in that choir, and they do 3 shows a year, that's $120 that poor family has to put out just for the ability to entertain us. And I've always been of the impression that we don't pay people to entertain us. We pay people, they don't pay us to entertain us. We pay them to entertain us. So I think I would like to talk a little bit about 2 things, really. One is how we look at the financial structure in overall with the chorus. I was told by Steve when we met that of all of the money donations that were made by the audiences at each performance, were set aside as choir enhancements. And I'm not quite sure what that is. Maybe Steve can enlighten us a little bit on that. But my conversation to Steve during that meeting was that I don't know what that is, and B, that should just be, it's too complicated. It just needs to be where whatever Chris collects at the concerts and whatever the CROA has allocated in their budget for Celebration Choral Group, that just be pooled together in one big pile. And then if we do have a participation fee of a small amount, something just as a buy-in, then that's also thrown into that pile. And the only person that I believe knows what to do with that money is Chris. Chris knows what kind of music he needs to buy, and when he needs to buy it, and the concerts he's putting on. He's putting on a Broadway concert this spring. It's going to be a wonderful show, but he had to buy some music for that. Okay, and so he's given this finite amount of CROA money that he can add to with donations from the audience participation and sponsorships, because he is talking about trying to get folks to sponsor the musicians, the violinists and stuff like that. So, so even that money, I mean, we would that money that a sponsor would give if they said, all right, I'm going to pay $250 for that violinist, that money also goes in that big pile and gets distributed back out to that musician when the time comes. Okay. So the accounting process, and I don't know if you, and I think you all have seen the sheet that Steve sent it out to you, is just way too complicated. We need to have a source of income and a source of expense, but not try to earmark the donations from the audience as choir experience or whatever it was money, and that can't be used for paying stipends, and it can't be used for paying musicians, and it can't be used for buying envelopes and music and stuff. Well, music, that's what it would be used for. And even to the point that this summer, this complicated accounting system that is in place caused him to not get paid for the July 4th concert, because he was told at that time there was no more money left, because they weren't allowing him to use, he was not allowing them to use the money from the concert contributions. And then, as it turns out, in the 11th hour and 30th minute, he was called and said, "You got lots of money left in the budget. Go buy some music." Well, why didn't we pay him the first July 4th show then? So, and just some of the numbers, and just in 2017, to give you an example, his concert contributions from the 3 shows total just slightly over $2,000. And so he's done very, very well at getting folks to give him money. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'd like to see the accounting process simplified first. Secondly, I don't agree with charging the participants any kind of a fee at all. A $10 for resident, $20 for non-resident fee, because he's doing such a great job of raising funds outside that. Those dollars are going to be so insignificant to the total budget that all it's going to do is, excuse the expression, piss off a lot of singers. And he's going to lose some good singers over this $120 a year, because we do have a lot of husband and wives that sing together. Okay? But if we're insistent in charging participation fee in order to get a buy-in from these singers, then let's make it just enough to have them with some skin in the game. And I think the proposal that was discussed but not agreed upon when they met was $8 for residents and $10 for non-residents. So that's kind of where we're at on that, and
Good.
discuss from there.
Do you want to say anything first, Steve, before I...
No, I'll let you discuss, and if you have any questions.
I'll go after you, Leonard. Go ahead.
For the last 4+ years, prior years, we funded the choir about $2,500. This year, it's $2,800. That's what's within our budget right now for 2018. And I don't have a problem with that going out there to that area because it funds the different programs, the Memorial Day, the 4th of July, the
spring concert, 4th of July concert, holiday concert.
Yes, so it funds those, and they're all community open, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't have a problem with that side of it.
And it's free admission.
I don't want to increase that stipend to the chorus. In other words, I don't want it going past that dollar amount.
Okay.
So in other words, right now we've got a $2,800 stipend we're putting in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't want to increase that.
No, and
so let me just start with that as a now as far as the other methodologies of raising money, et cetera, if it's a break-even deal other than that $2,800 we put in, I'm happy with it.
Right.
So if there's a plan to come up with to do that, I will buy into that just like that.
And the plan is, I mean, that's what the plan is, okay? If you look at the numbers from that sheet, from the budget, it allocated $10 and $20 for the participation fee. But what it also did was it only figured out, it said our fall donations and spring donations, there was no 4th of July number in there, and it was only $200. And in fact, in reality, the contributions for those two concerts were closer to $650 each. Okay, so between that and the fees that he would be able to learn, that he would be able to collect from sponsors, should. And I also want to keep that $2,850 in there, just sort of as a cushion. But the way I foresee 2018 for Chris, quite honestly, is that he will have generated significantly more income to the bottom line because of the larger contribution amounts that he's receiving from the audiences, okay? And it'll actually put us way over budget or under budget on that line item because all of the fee income that is on this balance sheet has been understated. Basically,
do you mind if I jump in real quick on that? So the dollars that they have sitting in the chorus account right now that were raised last year, they raised $2,003.82. They went over the budget last year by $85.23. So if you use the $85 out of that money to offset what it went over budget last year, or you can choose to just say, we're fine with that, use the entire $2,000 towards this year. But the expenses for if you all decide today that you don't want to charge a participation fee for the chorus, the expenses for that are $1,360. So you have enough money there to cover that, to not charge anything at all. The only thing I would just make sure we point out is that Chris wants to do some enhancement stuff. So when Tim said maybe I can elaborate on that, I think that we want to leave that to the musical genius of Chris, because he's going to say, I want a string quartet with this, or a triangle. I don't even know what all the terminology is, but he's the one that has the master's degree in that. He may say, I want this, this, and this. That's going to require additional dollars to be raised.
And I've talked with him in length about this, and I said, Chris, I says, from what you can develop in audience contributions, and what you can develop in sponsorship contributions, and what CROA has graciously provided you under the budget, which is the $2,850. That's it, buddy. If you want a full orchestra you better find somebody to sponsor it, because that's all the money you've got. And so you better spend it wisely. You're not going to, because if you go over that budget, you're going to have to cut a concert, or you're going to have to cut up something out.
All right, Steve, let me ask you a question. Why do we have 3 seasons for them? For example,
That's Chris's choice.
Just wait. In Thriving in Place, we basically charge 2 seasons. Is that right?
We charge for the year for Thriving in Place.
$5 for the year.
Yeah, and the reason why is because not most, of the 55 participants that we have during the winter, we probably have only about 40 or 35 or so during the summer.
Okay.
So we don't want to, so if I'm doing a 4th of July concert, and maybe I missed the spring concert because I went home early as a snowbird, okay? Then if I'm paying, if you're talking about a flat fee for all 3 concerts, let's say it's $20 for all 3, well, then if I only get to do 1 show because I'm a snowbird, then I've paid $20, see, instead of...
If you're a snowbird, you got enough money to go back and forth. It's no problem.
Still.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if we just recognize it as 1 season...
That was my thought.
That drops it down to $500 total, which includes $20 per 10 people, and $10 for 30 people. The rate of
10 per person and 20.
Yeah, so where it's $300 for residents, $200 for non-residents, $500 total. Right?
Okay, I'm missing your math.
$10?
Currently, we charge $20. The proposal.
No, currently, we're charging nothing.
Proposal is to charge.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The proposal is to charge $20 for non-residents per season.
Right. We're saying
Okay.
charge 20.
Approximately 10 people are non-residents.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's not true.
Can we just say $20 for a non-resident, 10 for a resident, no matter if they do 1 or all 3? Just
Well, that's
a
what I'm
flat
trying to
fee? Yeah, that's
establish.
what
What
I'm
we're trying to come up with. What are we budgeting for then?
Okay, so you're saying, are you saying $20 a year for residents,
Yes.
or non-residents,
Yes.
$10 a year for non-residents?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
my thought.
So then you prorate it if somebody comes in and just does,
No.
so you collect $20?
I mean, it's just for the program. It's like, yeah, I mean, like if you don't show up for the
Basically,
overclass.
we're eliminating 2 pay periods, 2 seasons,
What
Yeah.
which cuts the cost in a third, down to a third.
What is the point of the participation fee?
I mean, we
first?
have it for softball. We
Let's-
have it for, I
but
think,
no,
both
but
things,
but
yeah.
Well,
but
except the difference is,
I know,
a
they're not
softball is
entertainers.
an outside vendor. This is a CROA-owned
Right.
operation.
the whole point in my mind, I guess, and I can go with any of the fees either way, but first thing is, what is the point of a participation fee? And I'll get to you to answer that in just a moment, because as long as Chris is going to balance it within that $2,500 to $2,800 contribution we give them each year,
Right.
it matters not to me what that amount would be,
Correct.
since I'm not a choral member. Now, it may matter desperately to some members and very little up to others. So let's go to participation fees and why.
Yeah, the participation fee for this is not tied to what we charge for soccer or any of our youth athletics. The participation fee for this is that the CROA board has traditionally subsidized about $2,500 worth towards the chorus program. The expenses have gone up a little bit for 2018 because the church is charging a little bit more. We're getting a little bit more music, and there's 3 seasons now to pay Chris, and we need to pay Chris because Chris is good at what he does. So we need to make sure he's getting paid, and we're budgeting for that. So the dollar amount that was utilized to come up with the revenue just helps to offset that subsidy, and we got it pretty close. And we actually got, during budget work sessions, for you guys to be okay with it to be $2,800 and not $2,500. So that's where that $10 and $20 comes from.
Okay.
Now the second part to this, though, is the donations. So Chris did bring in $1,900 worth of donations last year. If we offset...
Well, that's, 2023 is what he...
Right, sorry, I took out the 85 for the overage from last year, but $2,003 from last year. So if you take that to offset some of that revenue that we had proposed to lower that subsidy, that reduces the amount of choral enhancement unless he can bring in additional sponsorships or additional dollars. And I think it makes sense, but we got to figure out how sustainable it is moving on in the future. So this year we have generous pockets or generous donations. Next year maybe not as much, but
well, and to talk about that. If that were the case, okay, then he fully understands that he's got what he's got, and that's all he's got.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I think
so. If he has, if he was saying that, oh, the holiday concert would be wonderful if I could have a full string quartet or whatever the case,
right,
and he couldn't find a sponsor, but he couldn't. There was no more money in the budget.
Yeah.
Then we don't just miraculously find money. He either has to go find a sponsor or he has to cut the strings.
Right. And under the proposal that you're floating right now, it's about $800 that needs to be offset because it's $1,300 that we're bringing in from registration. If you're talking about it being $500 and netting out from registration, so you can take $800 from the $2,000, and then that leaves him $1,200 for enhancements.
But actually, he's already done that. And this is how he's done that. It's because we budgeted $400 for donations for fall and spring, when in fact he has $2,000 in actual results.
Right, so the reason why we did that, that's last year's $2,000. What we did for this year, we try and be very conservative on budgeting to lower your subsidy for donations because, again, it's not guaranteed money. So we know that we had it last year, but not guaranteed for 2018. We know that program registration is guaranteed. We could bring it up higher. I just want to make sure Chris has enough room to do the things that he wants to do with this program also.
Yeah. Well, but on the same token, though, he fully understands that if he doesn't have the money, then he can't enhance.
Right. So you could raise your subsidy amount from $2,500 too. I mean, you have a few different options of what you want to do with this. But see, I think is that Chris did bring in $2,000 last year, so you do have that pool sitting there that can be utilized to help with this decision.
Yeah, I think his philosophy is he would rather have the top class, the top best singers that he could find that are in Central Florida, to say to them that they come in here and there's no participation fee, blah blah blah, and has the best concerts. Okay, instead of having folks who can't afford that money, can't afford those contributions, and bail, and that's his best singers. Right. So that's what he's afraid of.
Sure.
May I speak to the participation?
Yeah, go ahead, Sydney.
Yeah, you got to go.
So typically, artsy programs, you don't pay to participate in. Typically. Community theater, you just show up. And either they give you a costume to wear, or they say, okay, this is what you have to end up with, a long skirt, long blouse, whatever. You go to Goodwill, you put it together, you're good to go. Same thing with community choruses. Now, there are some that do pay, but they're in a major metropolitan area, say Chicago, someplace like that. They're attached to a university where they pay the same amount as a credit hour would be if they took a choral class at the university, but then they're also getting the benefit of having somebody of a good instructor, because that person is the dean of the music department at that university or whatever. I don't have Chris doesn't have a problem charging. I don't have if you want to do like a 5 or 10 and once a year kind of a thing, just to have some skin in the game, as Chris says. But I know he'd love to go after sponsorships. I mentioned in my the narrative I gave you guys, the course is always looking to, what can we do to get more money? They're there. They held up this program when they didn't have a conductor. There was a guy who was a band director. There was a woman who had a degree in music. Performance. They all pooled their talents together to keep this afloat while Chris was gone and they didn't have anybody. So these people are all committed. I know that there was a time where I think there was 16 residents and the majority was non-residents. But again, these non-residents, they're there at Memorial Day. And they're there at Veterans Day. And if somebody says, hey, we'd like to sing at the hospital, they're there. So it's not like they're getting, they're giving back as much as they can. I think there's some frustration in Chris's part, and also in probably Parks and Rec. There's a disconnect there, because this is like putting a square peg in a round hole, because there's nothing else left. There was some conversation about him becoming an independent contractor. He doesn't want to do that. He did this because he loves music. He's been here since 2001. in town. He wants something he wants to do for the town. He doesn't want to make a business out of it. He's got 2 jobs as it is. He does, he just loves to do this. When he first started this, if he needed bins for music or, whatever, I just put it on the supply order and ordered it. For the second time, he asked for bins for music, and he was told there was no money for it. Now, here's the thing. That music is a CROA asset. It needs to be protected. You don't just throw it in the closet or something in a cardboard box. You want to protect it because it's recirculated and all that kind of stuff. Anytime he needed pens, pencils, I don't know, any kind of supplies, it just came out of the regular supply thing because we always have envelopes, we always have pencils, we always have, but he's frustrated because, it's feeling like he's being nickel and dime to death. So, I think that somehow it's got to be redefined how this program is going to work. Like Steve was kind enough to say that, Chris he's the one who knows how this works, and working with Parks and Rec, but there's things that they don't understand that he does. Does that come off kind of, do you know what I'm saying?
Chris, I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that Chris is doing a wonderful job. It's a huge benefit to the community. It's a great program. I would not argue with any of that. And I'm not arguing with the quality of the program at all. The only thing I'm saying is that we try to keep the expenses around your $2,500 subsidy. And he costs money, and so none of that stuff was budgeted for. The hard budgeted items that we know are expenses are going to be your chorus music rights. We do have $50 for supporting material for chorus, and then we have to pay the facility fee and the tech fee for each season, and then Chris's stipend, and those are our expenses. So what we have right now with our forecasted revenue gets you at a $2,800 subsidy for the chorus program. If you want to raise it to $4,000 subsidy for the chorus program,
I don't think that subsidy needs to be raised.
Right.
I just think we need to stop separating the money that he raises with the money that CROA has given him.
I agree.
And call it one great big pot and say, Chris, you've got $5,000. So if he creates $2,000 plus another, so he's got $4,850, whatever it works out to. He's got this $5,000 laying in that budget from his contributions from his audiences, his sponsorship money, and his CROA allotment to $2,850. Okay, and that's it, buddy. That's all you get.
and I completely agree with that. The only thing I think that may be a disconnect is that the money that we are using, that we're charging for participation fee, goes to offset that subsidy right now. So if that's eliminated, then the $2,000 or whatever money that we have has to go towards that to offset that, to keep it at $2,800.
Or we tell Chris we've eliminated the participation fee, and that's on you, my friend. You have to go raise some more money.
Yeah, go raise $1,500 more if you want to cover that.
So what I hear, if I may just wrap up what I've heard so far, is it seems like no one's having a problem with continuing the $2,800 subsidy.
Right.
And that Chris should have the money he takes in should go into the CROA chorus fund. Let's just call it that.
One big pile. Okay.
One big pile. Whether it's from participation fees that he could charge. We could institute that. We could either mandate that, or we can say, let's figure out what he wants to do on that. And if he doesn't want to charge those fees, then of course he has to know that he has to make up those dollars.
Exactly right.
To come back in from other sponsorships.
It would be his call on that. That's right.
He has a pool to utilize from last year that that's Chris's money that he raised. I mean, he's the one that went out there and did the work and asked everybody for it. So that's how we want to use it.
So I don't have a problem with that.
That solved one part of your equation. What do you want to do as far as the dues then, or the monthly?
I think we let him decide. I think if we give him that kind of autonomy and say, Chris, you've got a hole of, what did you say, $500?
No, it just depends on what you charge. Right now, it's $13.60 is what we're.
And you're
that's our
figuring
forecast.
that's at the 10 and the 20, and how many people are you figuring?
And again, we conservative, 30 residents, 10 non-residents, so about 40 people in the course.
Okay, all right. So we tell him that he's got that nut to crack. If he wants to charge a fee, that's fine. If he doesn't, he's got to find another source of income, or he cuts something in his concerts.
Yeah, the funding budget of CROA's dollars is this amount. You bring in your money and make sure everything equals out.
Is he opposed to a one-time annual fee if it's small?
I don't know that he is or isn't.
This is in the building. Would you like me to get him just for this part?
Sure.
We're discussing because
Yeah, he's
hang on.
Yeah, 'cause
germane to this discussion.
there's 3 people probably listening at home.
Well, I would say you all have already committed to paying for $4,600 worth of his expenses. So the rest of it is, and he's got about a $13.60 nut to figure out if we do away with the fees.
Well, but the 4,000 isn't, the 4,000's not his net.
Questions.
No, it's
Out of-
offset by $17.60
Okay.
is what we consider.
That's what I want
revenue.
to make sure was.
Chris, I have 2 questions. First of all, thank you. You were amazing. And when I first met, we didn't want to let you go. We've kept you, obviously, and thanks for coming back. But are you opposed to a small one-time annual fee if it's like $10 a resident, 15 non-resident, or are you opposed to one, not each
For the
season,
year,
but
the
just
whole
for the
year.
whole year?
Sure,
Is that,
that would be absolutely acceptable.
I'm just saying, I don't want to put more of a burden on you. I mean, we know how the arts are. You're constantly raising money, you're constantly underfunded,
Sure.
you constantly need more. It's small, but, and I can see why you don't want to do it for each session, because that would be too much for people, but Jack and I.
Well,
just thought
let
that
me
might
explain
be
one
just a
thing, though. The reason I said 10 and 20,
Yeah.
it's in our recreation plan that non-residents are charged an additional 10. So we're looking at roughly 30 residents participating per year. And
Is that your count?
I think right now we're at about 30 residents and 20 non-residents.
Okay.
are these non-residents? They're not snowbirds, though, are
No, they're people who we draw from
They're outside
Four
areas,
Corners area, yeah. From
So it's only 700, but it's a start, you know.
Well,
That would be $700.
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's
yeah.
less money that he would have taken out of the $2,000 that he raised last year to offset
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
additional expenses.
Yeah, we still give them the contribution.
You want to tell them where we're kind of consensus right now, Tim?
Yeah, just a couple, it's kind of like what we talked about over the phone a couple nights ago. When I give you more autonomy, you've got whatever you can raise in audience donations, whatever you can raise in sponsorships. The $28.50 allocated for the budget is there, it's solid, it's gold. And we were thinking, at least I was anyways, thinking about giving you the complete control, of your money, basically, and saying that you got $28.50 of CROA money. After that, it's yours. Whatever you can raise, you raise. And of course, it seems like that your following is strong enough now that you've got $600 to $650 a concert that you can kind of depend upon, at least unless there's a recession or something. Okay, and then you're talking about trying to get sponsorships for your people with the
musicians, sure.
Okay. And then whether you decide you want to charge a participation fee or not is kind of what I was thinking. It's not the consensus of the board, obviously, but to give you that ability to be able to say that what I raise and what is in the CROA budget is what I get, and I don't get any more. Okay, and then I get to do whatever I want with that within reason.
And generally acceptable.
Using
Using gap methods.
The 2840 is the net subsidy after you take off the revenue. So when you take off what we were projecting for a registration fee, so to do that, to cover that, to keep it at 2840, we have to cover what we were thinking would be the registration fee, which would be about $1,360. That would have to come out of the $2,000 that would have. So that would leave Chris about $700 of chorus money to use your creative genius to spend.
Yeah, wait a second, Steve.
Go ahead.
I think you said $13.60 is what we're getting for your participation fees.
If they did it
And then
per
we're,
season. Yeah.
and then for reducing it down to the
We're
numbers
reducing
we're talking
to
about,
700.
it's down to 700. So there's only $660 that's being.
But you've given Chris the autonomy to decide whether to charge or not to charge. So that's why, I mean, if I was Chris, I would charge the 10 and the 20.
I would
one
too.
time,
Yeah.
just so that I would have more money left
More
over
income, yeah.
to
Yeah.
spend.
I just don't want to make a contribution of $2,800 and have him in a position where he's just strapped. I mean, the contributions have been great, but that could change tomorrow. I mean,
we don't want-
700 isn't going to make or break you, but it gives you at least a small, tiny cushion which is the one-time fee for each participant.
And you're
So if
saying-
you're a resident, you would pay $10 for the whole year, whether you do one concert or
Three.
or all of them. And if you're non-resident, you would do 20. If it's a non-resident couple, maybe it's 25. I don't know.
Okay, well, so
Just once.
that even works out to be less than what I had originally envisioned. I had originally envisioned charging for each concert separately because sometimes we do have snowbirds who are down and they only do the winter concert because that's the only time they're in the area.
Do you want to do that? I mean, that's a lot of accounting. Would that be better?
I think a flat rate.
So then you could do one concert or three concerts on one, because with $8 and $10, if you did three concerts in your residence, that would be $24, and if you were a non-resident, that would be $30.
Chris, the only objection I have to that is that we have in our documents that we charge a $10 differential for non-residents. So I wouldn't go along with an 8 and 10. I'd go with 10 and 20. And
So
the whole year.
so for $10 and $20 for the entire year, that would be at least some income coming in.
yeah.
We had been, it was communicated to us, and I'm sorry if I got mixed up, that you didn't want to charge more than, you didn't want to
Well, we
charge the
haven't
fee
been.
3
We
times a
haven't
year.
been charging.
There's nothing stopping you from going 10 and 30 if you wanted to, and that's what Chris is talking about. If it was $10 for non-residents for 3 seasons, they paid $30. That would cover that.
Okay, so do you want to charge for each of the 3 seasons?
No, what I'm saying is one time, $10 for residents and $30 for non-residents. And we say it has to be at least $10 more,
Right,
but there's
right.
nothing stopping you from going
Chris,
a
what do you
little
want?
higher if you want.
See, and what I mentioned to them was that you're going to get to a point with these fees that he's either going to encourage or discourage your singers. And I want to make sure that we don't cross that line.
Yeah, what is your feeling?
Agreed.
You know better.
So my hesitation, one, I feel that we do need an additional source of revenue that's coming in to help cover. When we only had 20 singers to be able to buy music for, then the money that was coming just from CROA was certainly enough to buy for 20 people. But now when you're buying music for 50 people, that's more than doubling the cost of just buying sheet music alone. So if this is going to be the first time that we're going to implement a fee, my hesitation is to charge anything that's even sounds remotely large by because I don't want to scare away my people. I would rather start off with something small and introductory and then build from there if the program requires it.
Okay.
Debbie, you had mentioned $10 a year for residents and $20 a year for non-residents. I think that would be a very prudent place to start, and I think that would be quite acceptable to most of the singers, such that we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have a great attrition because of that.
Okay.
So that leaves us $800 that we have to find to offset that expense, and there's $2,000 over here.
Actually,
That's up to him to find it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to everyone now, though, is that you already have $2,000 over here, so you could just cover it now and know that you have $1,200 left from last year, plus whatever you raise this year for course enhancement. So this money, the $1,200, and any sponsorships dollars that you raise can go to the quartet or, again, whatever you wanted to do with it.
Rather than call those contributions choral enhancement, it's just choral money. Yeah.
But you guys are going to pay for his music rights, his $50 worth of his supporting material, his stipend, and all of his facility fees and tech fees. Those are hard expenses that we know are coming for this year. We've already agreed to that dollar amount. So I would say anything above and beyond those that you think benefits
would have to come from sponsorships and contributions. And I mean, there's people who just start writing checks, to be a part of that group.
Right.
Because he has taken it to the next level.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
if any of you have not been at one of these concerts,
It's exceptional.
go. Yeah. They are wonderful, wonderful concerts.
And thank you, Chris.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
It's great of what he does.
All right, so can we make that as a motion on the next?
I think
board
that
meeting?
if there's consensus here tonight, we can move forward, because he has a CROA meeting tonight, so we can tell him tonight.
Yeah, I would love to be able to give them some hard information tonight at our
Because if
first
that is okay with
rehearsal.
you, it's
10 to
really, it's
20
your
a year?
leadership.
So a yearly fee, $10 for residents, $20 for non-residents. Done.
And we'll just update the sheet to show that $800 has come from the 2,000 that we have to offset this year's expense.
Chris,
Yes.
to make it easy, because you won't get some of the people in until fall, probably. It's a 2018 fee. Have you paid your 2018 fee to be with us?
So
When
we'll
we come in the fall, we'll pay that 2018 fee when they get here.
So yes, so we'll go ahead and we'll send out, since it's the beginning of 2018, we'll send a mass email out to everybody letting them know that this is just the yearly fee. You can pay it now, even if you're not coming to the fall. But particularly, even if it's $20, you want to make sure that you get that in so that we can afford to pay for all the musicians that we'll have or the extra music that we have. Yeah, but we can let them know that now.
Okay. The tracking of all this money.
You are Cindy.
Well,
You are Cindy.
Why don't we go ahead? We'll update it, and then we can give Chris just regular sheets so he can see where he's at based on his prior balance.
In particular, that Susan's paid and Steve is paid.
Yeah, we can. That can all be set up through our Rec Pro automation system, so it'll track everything for him. It'll show everyone that's paid.
Okay?
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
be written?
it's a great conversation, because the arts are wonderful and we need more art programs. It's just a matter of the business and the financial side.
yeah.
How much do you want to subsidize? And it was a good conversation.
And like I said earlier, this used to just affect a couple hundred people. Now, when we have 350 people coming to a concert plus 50 singers, that affects a whole lot of folks.
And it's gone. He's amazing.
Okay,
Okay.
move on.
Awesome.
Let's review the 2018 reserve projects. Your first project is get a projector.
You don't have a joke or anything you can tell?
Not on TV, no.
Gotta learn how to kill time.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. So we're here to talk about the 2018 reserve projects that are outlined in the reserve study. So, Susan, would you like to take the lead on what a reserve study is?
Certainly. A reserve study, we hire an engineer to come out and look at every component that we have as an asset. So they look at every building that we have, they look at the equipment that we have, they look at our landscaping, they look at all of our assets, CROA assets. And we've got our facilities, our 5 facilities, and pools and equipment to go with all of that. And they, at that point in time, determine what its useful life is, which comes out of books somewhere, their books, how many more useful years of life that particular item has, and come up with what we need to fund every year. Because technically what we should be doing is if we have a road and we need to replace it every 10 years, we should put away 1/10 of that every single year. And we do that because if you move into the community and we've got a road that's going to cost us $100,000 and you move in on year 10, it's not fair for you to have to contribute your share of that $100,000. So if we do $10,000 a year, then those people who are part of the community during those years are paying their proportionate share of what it costs us to keep them up. So we hire reserve advisors as our person. that we hire, and they put those numbers into a formula. They come out and they give us a reserve study that looks like this, and every single component is listed, and every single component, it tells us when it needs to be replaced. As you can see up here, the 2016 reserve study, we're scheduled to spend, there's 3 components, let me just say. Us funding the reserves, us spending the money from the reserves, and how much we've collected over the years and what we've got remaining, sitting there in cash. So this year we're scheduled to spend $751,496 for CROA reserve projects and $249,522 in service area reserve projects. So our reserves are fully funded. We have funded what the reserve study has told us every single year. And as of December 31st, we had in cash at the beginning of the year $939,572 for CROA, and for the service areas, for all of the service areas, and there's 12 service areas when it's all said and done that have reserves, is $2,180,888. And you say, why 12 service areas? Because Spring Lake Gardens, we have no assets in Spring Lake Gardens because they're bungalow homes. So we don't have any responsibility to replace anything in there, like a wall or a roof or anything like that.
What about their pool structure and the facility there?
That's CROA.
CROA.
Yeah. Okay. So for funding, every single year the reserve study tells us what we need to fund. And this year, CROA is scheduled to fund, and you can actually look at the budget for 2018 and see that it's $597,804. Service areas, again, all 12 combined, is $651,700.
Can I just add one more thing to it?
Yes.
For those watching at home, if you want to find that the reserved expenditures are actually in the income line as a negative. So they show up at the top of the...
That's a reserve funding from CROA to the reserve.
But if you're looking under expenses for that 597 number, you won't find it. It's up top just as a negative.
Right. Take it away, Todd.
Thanks, Susan. She's the accountant side of the whole thing there. So when we prioritize projects, we're looking at seasonal impact, such as closing a pool in the middle of summertime, not a good idea. Event and activity schedules, contractor availability, any impact to traffic, such as when you were doing campus street roofs, we had to work around the school and the traffic there. Bidding and permitting, and product lead time. Now, keep in mind when we go through the project categories, the whole purpose of having this workshop is so we can let you know what the reserve study is telling us that should be done. It's not coming from us saying, hey, you got to do this. We're using their expertise and their engineering abilities and everything to guide us. And we put in some input as well on things that we see that are not necessarily needed to be replaced. So you see at the bottom where projects are pushed outward in the years to 2019 or beyond. So the categories we're going to go through are active and passive park, common site elements, unique site elements, pools and facilities, and then the push projects. Does everybody know what an active and passive park term is? Okay. All right. So we'll get right into it. Site elements for active and passive. We have benches. That would include metal benches, teak wood benches, benches along sports fields, things like that. So we have $14,423. So we're looking at benches at Long Meadow. There's a picture of it in the center around the pergola, and there's a few around the playground that are in need of replacement. There's a few more at Lakeside that are on the tennis court, and then a few in Artisan at Craftsman and Bocce. So that'll pretty much gobble up the $14,000. Bicycle racks. Long Meadow has a couple of bike racks that are degraded and are in need of replacement. So that's one location. Brick brick and flagstone pavers. So this is a combination of concrete underneath typically, and then they put flagstone at Hippodrome, Pergola, as well as Pondview Court. And Pondview is a little degraded, so that's definitely needs to be replaced. Flagstone at Hippodrome has been identified for years that needs to be improved upon, so we're looking at that. Catch basins, y'all will be happy to hear this one. This is a leftover from 2017. Parking lot at 851, the back parking lot where it dips down at the drain grate. That'll be repaired. And there's a couple of drain inlets at Lakeside parking lot that has started to depress that need to be corrected. Chairs, wooden chairs. There's a few at Ashby and Luton's and 2 at Sandlace that are due for replacement. Those are teak. Then we have concrete sidewalks. This is from 2017 that we had pushed out. And we have Spring Park that's in need. We've marked all of those hazards there. North Village Commons, as well as a few around the Town Hall.
Are these for grinding?
No, if they grind, that wouldn't come out of reserves. This would be a replacement. We can grind to about half the thickness of the sidewalk, and then beyond that, it has to be replaced.
So I think some people may have a question about, I thought the CDD was responsible for sidewalks, so...
I'm glad you asked that. So a portion of the sidewalks around the parks, if it lands in the CDD's easement area, would be their responsibility. And they do go around and grind their sidewalks. These would be sidewalks within the specific boundaries of the park that meander around the pools and things like that, different elements. So,
Todd, what about if these are being caused by trees? Are we doing anything about the trees?
Yes, we would, definitely. There's ways of preventing it from heaving in the future, and that's to go around it, if that's possible, make a wider swing. You can dig down and put gravel in and geotextile fabric, and that helps keep the roots pushing down. You can ramp up over it. So there's different methods to...
Okay.
It's not going to prevent it completely, but it'll lengthen the years to get out of the concrete. Drinking fountains. North Village, there's a few that need to be replaced. You can see the picture of it. Those are the oldest ones we have. They're 20 years old. Still working well, but they are in need. The mechanical parts are starting to fail, and they don't look the best thing in the world. But we're also looking at each of the pools. We have the double drinking fountains attached to the buildings. So when we replace those, we'll implement bottle fillers, because that seems to be a popular element.
So Todd, are we doing any replacements with the bottle water filler?
Yes.
Filter things?
Yeah, that's
Yep. Okay. Bottle fillers. So that's a popular item. Y'all seen the one that we installed here in Town Hall? So it's popular. Don't know how many bottles of plastic bottles we've saved yet, but I'm sure it's a big number.
I'm using it.
You got irrigation system controls. That's been working with Russ from the CDD on how we can best implement some upgrades to the irrigation system. Currently, MaxiCom is controlled by the CDD, and that's how extended times are run into the program. We have to call the CDD to get that accomplished and ask the CDD for reports. We've been looking at a company called Weathermatic that is high on the technology side and big in reports and dashboard user-friendly, and you get more benefits than what MaxiCom has. So as a green initiative, that's what we're looking towards as a gradual phase-in. But we're still in the early stages of working through that. Landscaping. So this is going to take a lot of consumption of time this year, but it's well worth it. We've got infill of dead and declining materials throughout the property. Will be the first target on Yellowstone's list. They're developing their list right now. They have 30 days to get it done from January 1st. So, but we're also looking at Lakeside Park, around the sidewalk by the back pavilion, on the back side of the building, and around the pool area. So it's and a couple of parking islands that have no plant material, and I'm always driving over the curb because I forget the curbs there. So, has anybody else done that? So then we also had a push from last year. We had Sand Lakes, Runner Oak, Deerwoods, and Pondview that didn't get accomplished. They were the fall projects, and the fall kind of got messed up with a hurricane and landscape company. So we're moving forward with that. Now keep in mind all these things will come to the board with proposals and more information and lots of details, so no need to panic right now. Pet waste stations. There's $2,596 in the budget for pet waste stations. They're about just under $500 a piece. So we're looking at Hippodrome, Aquila Loop, North Village, Long Meadow, and Artisan area.
Are these just replacements, or
they're replacements? Yeah, they get rusty over the time, and the hinges will break off the back, and
Have you done any study about additions?
About what?
Adding more stations?
We have, and there's a couple out there, but that wouldn't come out of reserves. That would be a capital. But yes.
Great time.
Did I pass?
Good answer.
More than adequate.
All right, there we go. All right, so moving on, picnic tables. There's a few at Lakeside in the pavilions.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to back up to the dog things. Is there a way, so many of they have the rubber things that get pushed in.
Yes.
And over time they stay pushed in, so you get wind that blows through them. And so if you're sitting anywhere upwind, it comes through it. Can we get something to have like a magnetic bottom holder?
You had mentioned that to me, and I did look into it, and because the cases are aluminum, they didn't want to stick all that well. So I'm still looking into that, but yes. Or we can get lengthier little flaps, but I'll talk with the manufacturer and see if they've found a way to address it.
Magnetic element on the bottom.
Yeah, just a little.
Attach it to the aluminum.
Have you seen them anywhere?
No.
It's up, aren't you?
You should patent something there.
Anyway, that's.
You continue to look at that. All right, picnic tables. As I said, Lakeside and then North Village Pavilion. We've been doing pretty good on the replacements, so there's just a few left. Playground mulch. This is certified playground safety mulch. There's 3 playgrounds that still have mulch as their fall zone, and that's Lakeside, East Village, and Spring Park. This number includes funds from 2017 that were not utilized, and you'll see on your January agenda that this will be on there for replenishment. And that's coming from a certified playground safety inspector, which I happen to be. Capital repairs. We have pavilions at Lakeside. You've seen in my work plan that I've been looking at the pavilions there. You see in the right picture the way the pavilion posts are attached is through a concealed bracket, and they're starting to degrade, so we have to look at those to get them replaced. I've been talking with a couple of different contractors to get their take on it, but there's 6, I believe, pavilions at Lakeside that are all affected. And security cameras. So this one I've been talking with Patrick, and we're looking at upgrading the cameras here at Town Hall, the pools, as well as some of the playgrounds. Height Vision is who we currently have, and they're one of the leaders in security cameras, so we're still continuing to look at those. We also have a security ID system. That's our access card system, and we're looking at upgrades to that system. Yes,
How many cameras?
What's that?
How many cameras are you replacing?
I don't know the answer to that one. There's 50 plus, I would say.
Okay.
All right, vehicles. So we have the NEVs. We have 2 NEVs that are remaining to be replaced here at Town Hall, and they're both 4-seaters. And as we did last year, we did research on whether we should continue to use NEVs, and the consensus was that the new product line from Polaris, which is the GEM model, has a good history with it. It's reliable, it's efficient, and the warranty is very outstanding. So
that price is quite a bit lower than what the actual cost is.
Yes, I would agree.
That 14's for two of them?
That you could get two-seaters for 14.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but we'll have to look at those numbers when we bring it to the board.
Each.
Didn't we just buy one 3 years ago?
Yeah, we've been through the reserve study. We've had 3 years of phasing through them because the ones that were current
Still have a
then.
little gray one too. So.
Yeah, there's 2 gray ones that are, yeah. So that'll leave us with 1, I believe, of the old ones, then that's the newest of the old, if that makes sense. And then vehicles, we have the F-150 pickup truck that the reserve has listed. Every 5 years, I think, is phased. Keep in mind the truck may look nice and low miles on it, but it has a lot of gas miles or hours on it. So it's out of its warranty period and starting to cost money. It hasn't yet, but to avoid repairs, that's why we reserve study, swapping them out every 5 years. So we're looking at a new vehicle there. I did look at the trade-in value of the F-150, which is right around $14,000. So that number there should be reduced, by half, I would say. Right. Unique site elements, playground equipment. So last year we had in the reserve study North Village Playground. As y'all know, we went to Epcot and was looking at equipment there. So that we delayed the 2017 North Village project. We're going to combine it this year with East Village, which is definitely due. That's the center right picture there. The equipment is aged. They have the little spring riders and seesaws that get a lot of use. That's a very active little playground there. That's a toddler, 2 to 5 year age group. And then the North Village is the 5 to 12 years, and that would be the large component that's within the playground there. That's the furthest playground to enter the village. All right, playground fence at Lakeside. This fence takes a beating on a daily basis. The gate itself is continually needing to be repaired. So we're looking, that was in the reserve study, to be replaced this year. And you'll see 2 more slides up where the fence around the pool is also needing to be replaced. And that was a 2017 item. So we're going to try and combine those together and make sense of it. Signage. So Lakeside. Last year the board approved a signage package that we're getting information on. But this particular line item is for signage such as the big entrance sign. So we're looking at ways to improve on that sign. It's wood and it's degraded and fallen apart. So we'll bring to you guys some ideas as well as ARC so we can get some improvement there. And then the announcement sign is basically the bulletin board down by the tennis courts. We'll improve on that. Dumpster enclosure. I don't know if you've driven by, but the doors took a beating during the hurricane, and we half fixed them, and they keep falling apart. So that would be part of the refurbishment. I've already got prices to put aluminum louvered doors on them, so it'd be attractive and match the design of the building. Artisan Amphitheater. So from 10 feet, the arbor or pergola looks great, but you get right up on it. Inside, the wood is a steel structure, and above, on the top, I don't know what you call it, cantilever parts, water has been getting in over the years, and it's degraded the wood from inside. So we made some repairs last year to limp it along until we could get to this year where we can get the whole thing replaced. So I'm looking at a synthetic material that will last a lot longer than wood and still have that same appearance. Perfect. So it's still a stable structure, though, just cosmetically it's not the best in the world.
Yeah.
Light fixtures. we have $29,400 or $670. We're looking at the bollard lights around the amphitheater as well as around the bocce court.
No plans for like stage lighting in that, so we can use that for concerts?
There are 2 stage lights there, and we'd also look at replacing those. They're like a globe that articulates, but anytime we do that, we look at LED options.
Such a nice area.
Yeah. Aquila Loop Pavilion. So I'm happy to say this made it through the hurricane just fine. It's a nice little pavilion down there. But it's due for the cedar shake roof to be replaced. Hopefully that will be enough funds to do it. Questionable, but we'll see. And then stains and repairs. It's all stone columns with block inside of it. So the structure itself is good. So staining it again will bring it back to life. Lakeside, as I mentioned, here we have the pool fence. That needs to be replaced. It's degraded and looks terrible. We have light fixtures and poles. Now, we talked about light fixtures and poles last year, where we didn't feel the need to replace the whole entire pole and the fixtures. We had been retrofitting with LED light bulbs, basically, dismantling and disconnecting the ballast, and that's worked well, except at Lakeside, these poles are terrible looking. So this is one place where I'd recommend that we do replace the poles along with the fixture head. Similar styles, so we don't ruin the look there, but they would be LEDs, and we'll bring more information to you on that. Mechanical miscellaneous, that can be anywhere from pool equipment to pool equipment, anything related with the pool. So far so good with that, so we may not have to spend any funds there. Then we have pool plaster. This one, I still don't have a date when we can get this accomplished. This is going to be a 3 to 6 week downtime to redo the pool. It is needed because you can see the finish flaking away, and you see discoloration, which means there's voids between the finishes. So it loses water, which costs us money. So we'll look at that time frame and see which is the least disastrous, basically, to everybody's schedule. And we have the market umbrella. That's the big white umbrella. We pushed that from 2017, but it's due for replacement. North Village Commons, pool deck repairs. So the pool deck is in great shape for being 20 years old. It's been taken very good care of, but it's starting to sink in a couple of places just from organic compounds degrading underneath it. So I was talking with Leonard, and I'm looking at ramjacking, which is basically pumping grout underneath it to raise it up to bring it back to the level it needs to be, because it would be very difficult to match that texture of the concrete there. Yeah, so that would be one option. We're also looking at pool furniture replacement, more of an upgraded style. Mechanical equipment, for this, we're looking at replacing the covers that go over all the pool equipment, the lids that spring up. Those are fiberglass, and they've seen better days. So that's one of the mechanical things. Gutters on the building, pool building, as well as gutters on the pavilion are in need. So we'll get those replaced at the same time when we repaint the building. Spring Park, pool furniture again. We combined these from 2-year periods, so we can hopefully get a better deal by buying bulk with all the pool furniture. So we'll see about that. Same thing with the pool equipment covers. You can see the picture bottom left-hand corner. Painting as well, and windows and doors. Probably won't spend all that money on windows and doors. We'll do more repairs than replacements. East Village, so we have pool furniture again. The big yellow umbrella in the center. That's rated at $3,755. I doubt that we'll spend that, because we're probably just going to look at doing the cover, because the structure itself is fine. Interior renovations, this is one of the last places where we haven't done the epoxy floors, so we'll be doing that here in the next month with your approval. to renovate the bathrooms, basically freshen them up with paint and epoxy. Heritage Hall. So this one's been on my list since I started here 3 years ago. The kitchen in Heritage Hall is due for replacement. It's so part of the interior renovations will be the kitchen cabinets and countertop, and hopefully the floor covering in Heritage Hall. Right now it's the little VCT tile, the little squares. Has a lot of glare in the sun, so we're looking at more of a sheet vinyl, such as what you see in the activity room, only in a darker color. So we'll bring that to you and get your all's opinion. And then exterior painting. So we'll combine the exterior painting of the pool building and Heritage Hall at the same time. And then my beautiful picture there of the air handler here at 851. Anybody identify what horsepower that motor is there? I'll give you $10. No. No, it's 15 horsepower. It's that is the inside of the air handler, which is in like the size of a small bedroom. It's very big. We had $52,541 in the reserves. Well, that's not just for the air handler. We're looking at the controls that control the air handler. And it's 20-year-old technology. It's, as you can tell, the room may not be the best temperature here. All we have is the little dials on the walls. Nowadays, you can go right on the computer and control each zone and temperatures, and I'll know from my house what's going on with the system. So that's where we're at. Talk to Carrier to see about upgrades for that, and we'll have proposals. And then we'll do the continuation of our renovations, which were the back entrance area with the concrete replacement. So, projects that we can delay. We can save $35,813 right now, not spend it. For asphalt, milling, and overlay, which is paving. We did the asphalt seal coat here 2 years ago, which seems to be holding up well. We overlaid the parking lot here at Town Hall, so we really don't see the need to spend that right now. Garbage cans, which is the roll-around dumpsters. We just replaced some through operating here at Town Hall and Lakeside, so we don't feel like we need to spend close to 10 grand for trash cans right now. And light poles and fixtures, that category was for parks, not necessarily a specific park. So I would say it would be for like Spring Park area where we have some light poles, or Lakeside parking lot have light poles. They have, I think 6 a year is in the study. Right now, we've been converting them through operating to LEDs. We've replaced the globes on them, so you get more light output from the old yellowed ones. So I really don't see the need to replace the poles and fixtures right now. The only time we would consider that is if we're going to relocate them or they're starting to get damaged, but they're all cast aluminum, so they're doing just fine.
Who's the lights in the alleys? Is that us? Or?
No, that's not us. That's CDD. Yep. Then Petanque Court, we just did some refurbishment at the Petanque Court at Lakeside last summer, replacing some of the wood border, and basically the rock base or shell base is doing fine. If anything, we can supplement it through operating, which we planned for. And I think that is it for me. Any questions on the CROA portion of that? Did I put you all to sleep?
No.
Okay. All right. Any questions? No?
I have further questions on other things.
Oh. All right. Well, you want to let Susanna do her service area talk? Or you want to
let me hit you with these two things real quick.
Okay.
Hey, Eric asked about the exercise equipment at Spring Lake.
Yes.
It's not being maintained the way we expect it to be.
I have a different company coming in this week to evaluate it, and they'll let me know what's going on with them. Okay,
and then stumps in Artisan Park. Eric asked about those.
Yes, I've got a number from New Leaf, and they have it on schedule, and I texted him this morning, and I don't know if I got a text back or not. Sorry, Jacob, if you did, but it's supposed to be this week, I'm hoping, but don't quote me on that.
to follow up the tree question, the number of trees damaged, knocked over by Hurricane Irma on CROA property was 51. Did that go up at all?
No, I think it actually came down. We're more at like 36.
Because they were able to stand some back up, or?
No, it's just going through and tediously looking at them. Some of them the CDD had replaced or will replace because of their location, and I had counted those into our numbers.
Oh, okay. Good. So that's not out of this. That would be out of contingency or operating.
Right.
When we go forward, and the replacement of those trees. What do you think? Sometime April,
March, April. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I still want to get with Albert Riddle and get his opinion as well. I know the CDD was going with a different variety of elm tree. I'm not really thrilled about that, so I want to get Albert's opinion on it. I'll say no more about that. Anything else?
Okay.
Good. So we're ready for Susanna.
All right. Great.
Good job.
Thank you.
I said thank you, John.
All right. Hello, I'm pleased to provide you the projects that will be occurring this year for the service area. These will come out of the reserve expenditures like Susan explained for each one. Each service area obviously has their own budget that gets put towards the projects designated for that year. This year will include painting and shutter replacement, railings, repair and painting, and landscape and irrigation. So there's 14 projects scheduled for this year. Savannah Square has front railings, repair, and paint. You can see a picture there on the left. Also, for their privacy fences back in the courtyard, the fennials at the top, those have broken off over time. So that's a small expense. It's $1,000. That'll go to replace those fennials and put them back on there. In Roseville Corner, the painting project for 2017 was put on hold when the contractor found some wood damage at some of the duplexes and triplexes. So we'll be finishing that up. Right now we're looking at, we've talked to an engineer about establishing, what kind of time frame we have to work with those. Is that something that we need to do right away? Can it hold off? Because the reserve study says the roof should replace next year. So there's a question of, can we wait till next year to do that? At the same time, we're getting specs written to replace the roofs, and bid that out. And if we find that we have the money in reserves to replace the roofs now, let's just go ahead and do it that way. So we're looking at some different options to kind of tackle all three of those things. Once the painting is completed, there's also the landscaping that's in the reserve budget. So we'll be addressing front landscaping back. There's also some shrubs when you go back there in that part of the neighborhood where you'll see, just shrubs that were planted way back when on near the alleys and the corners that have just gotten so big that, when residents are coming around those alleys and streets, there's a line of sight problem there. So that'll be removed and replaced with sod or smaller shrubs. Moving on to Meeting House Green and Academy Row, they have some minor landscaping improvements scheduled for this year. We've done some work on that project this year anyway, but I know if you go down there now, you'll see a lot of the pentas are not doing so well. I've talked to New Leaf, and they know so much about plants. We've talked about some different plants that are just going to have a hardier, growth period, not so sensitive to, also Florida Friendly helps when they don't need as much irrigation. Although what's great about our new contractors, they have gone through all the service areas and done a comprehensive check of irrigation and replaced everything and corrected everything. So we have a full irrigation system working at the service areas, which I have to tell you, when I came here was just crazy how much was wrong. So they've really done great bringing that back up to speed. So now we're at the point where, not only are some plants at the end of their life cycle, but also some plants that just don't do well in that environment, some that suffered from irrigation problems are going to be replaced. In South Village Townhomes, they have some major landscape renovations to take place. These are just a couple of small areas where you can see where there's some plants missing to kind of fill out the landscape design. The ones that are there, it looks like variegated ginger and some podocarpus, and so those are doing pretty well, but there's some replacements needed there. Also in the back of the townhomes, a lot of the owners would like some focus back there on some plants that have suffered. So we'll be taking a look, walking through the service area, identifying different units that need the work. I know the residents have also expressed a desire to get the trees trimmed back there. Those are due for trimming. We'll see if that works in that line item, or we'll have to wait for the arborist tree trimming. Golden Aster Triplex, Todd talked before about, when you're upgrading your irrigation controls, this is a small area, it's a triplex, 3 units, but it's set to be replaced this year. So we'll look, a lot of the irrigation that they've found out here in the service areas are battery operated, which really causes a lot of problems. So upgrading those to different systems, also, looking at green alternatives. We'll look at all the options we have out there and price them and see what's the most efficient choice for those. Blue Sage Townhomes, I believe last year the residents did not want to paint the townhomes at that time. They wanted to focus their money on landscape, which they did a beautiful job this year. So that project from 2017 will move to 2018, painting all the buildings. Again, railings, repair and painting those as well, and shutter replacement. Green Lawn Townhomes, again, that was a 2017 project that got pushed to 2018. That'll be painting all the buildings again and repairing and painting the railings. And then finally, Parkview Townhomes, that's a concrete reserve budget line item. That is when, so again, front sidewalks would be CDD, but when it comes to a lot of these service areas, they have walkways in the back that service multiple units. And whenever a walkway services more than one unit, that is the service area responsibility. So it'll be replacing, that's one of the pictures in Parkview, but replacing it, pulling it up. If we have to do some grinding, we will. Relaying the concrete down, maybe some grinding in that too will be included. It's $1,600. So, and of course, on top of all the reserve projects, we'll definitely look at the areas that the homeowners are concerned about, and we'll work with operating expenses on those things.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you.
All right, let's turn the lights back up then. All right, so that pretty much covers our main agenda. And there's a couple other things I wanted to run through real quickly. One of the things was Dave's survey.
Yes.
Tim, you made some good comments there regarding the Halloween issue.
Yeah, we can't close down on the streets for anything we do.
Yeah, so I'd like to remove that off the survey. And also the Jeter Bend thing, remove that off the survey. Because it's something that's done by the residents, it's not done by us or any other group. And they're allowed to do it 4 days prior.
Well, none of these actually we could have any say over them happening except for our own sponsored events, but they're included so that not one was singled out for their events.
It's like Halloween, we can't really affect that.
We know.
Okay.
We know.
And
Can I offer a suggestion? Is there anything we can say in there that, because it says for some of the choices, do away completely, or...
Yeah, we're going to change the wording.
Yeah, I would say maybe improvement.
We'll just change the wording.
We probably can't just make them go away completely.
No, we can't make any. Yeah, we can't make really any of them go away except the ones we maintain. But
And the big
change
issue with Jeter Bend is the traffic issue. I mean, let's face it.
with the big issue with a lot of them was the traffic issue. Yeah.
also the title here, it's confusing. It seems like you're telling us that we bought the property between the dog park and the CDD building. It's actually between the CDD building and the athletic fields.
Yes, thank you. That's a good catch.
Just
I see
get that straightened out.
Perfect, thank you.
All right.
Anything else in the survey? Go ahead.
Oh, I've got a bunch of things. Sorry. On my top of my notes, I basically have the survey's not ready for prime time yet. And part of the problem is we're looking at a imaginary building going in on Lot D, and we're trying to ask people a little bit more about that. and we're so far away from that, number one. But then even the next thing I see as you come down through there, your different numbers like space for kids. Basically, you have types of space and you have uses of those spaces. A space for kids is, I don't know what it's for. What is it? Is it kids programming? It's too nebulous to me. Arts and craft may require a separate type of arts and craft room. I can see where that's in there. Computer workstations, that's not necessarily a room. It could be a room. I mean, a lot of these things are what we should be doing in a meeting in here where everyone comes in and says, this is what I would like in here.
Yeah, I think our
and I think it's too soon to have this going out.
I was thinking the same thing.
Well, as of, 2 weeks, we're having an architect plan the building, so I think it would be nice to know.
No, actually we're not.
Well, I mean, they're starting to hire, or then, I mean, is that?
What the CBD through the interlocal agreement is, they're putting out an RFQ to identify a firm to do a design, engineering, planning of the property. So when we say design, it's not the full architectural design of the building. It's more of what can fit on that property and how can it fit. So what we'll end up with is just a box saying this is how much square footage you have. And then from there, that firm, which the county is offering to pay for, will do a stakeholder meeting and quite possibly a survey too, depending on how much we have left from them. So I think I would agree at this point in time to ask those questions. It may make more sense for us to get the engineering firm on board and work out the interlocal agreement, because that way then the county dollars are paying for all this and it's not us.
Well,
and the questions can be consistent then at that point.
But I think the questions need to be out there. I just think it's too soon to send them out because it's
a great survey question. It's just a little premature.
Well, actually, some of them are good and some of them are kind of so-so, but...
I wish David was here to yeah, David's not here to.
No, I would say the same thing to David. I mean,
in its entirety, it's a good.
I think his thought is, if we have this and we address it at a meeting, we may have 40 or 50 people here. But if it goes out to 2,000 people, we would get more feedback.
And we should send it out to 2,000 people.
We are.
I agree with that.
You just want to wait 3 months?
But I don't think it should be yet.
You get to the point that
you want to wait 3 months? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly. And I think we're already a bit ahead of ourselves in that, number one, we have never seen anything about what an interlocal agreement would be, et cetera, et cetera. I have a ton of concerns about that still, in that control of the building up there, control of access to the building.
Should we finish the survey before we go into that? Because that's another area.
I'm sorry, that is. Well, I mean, if we're not going to send the survey out right away, then the rest of my stuff is sort of moot. I mean, I went down through and
can you send that information to David and I and let us
I would
go from there?
I'll give it to you off my notes.
Okay.
I mean,
okay, that's good.
But it's basically like you have multi-purpose rooms in number 6, basketball for number 5. Well, all multi-purpose rooms I've ever seen, multi-purpose gym or multi-purpose large box buildings have basketball in them. So that's you kind of get into programming. Are you going to have a big multi-purpose room to do whatever in? Then that's a programming issue once you get to the decision of the building. Things like exercise facilities. I toured 2 different. What are we calling this? Civic centers in Colorado. In Broomfield, Colorado, up in Anthem, that development up there. And they're both built in the last 4 or 5 years. And the one gymnasium has a great running track around the upside of the, it's kind of around the outside of the windows above the gym floor.
I think they had that in Solomia too,
And
They do. Yeah, they do.
And as you go through these different things, that's different than an exercise facility.
Yes, it is.
That's just a running track.
Right.
So there's information left out of here.
Do you want to add a running track? Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I'm saying is when you bring in a whole bunch of people, you get all these ideas together.
Right.
That's what you put in there, and you try to narrow them down to things that are rooms for this and that, not necessarily the programming in those rooms. Like one of the things you have it in here, I guess. Multi-purpose rooms, number 8 down through there. Well, this room here is a multi-purpose room because you can open it up to that way and that way, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what you're saying by what a multi-purpose room is.
Different.
Without defining it further.
It's not that we just put them alphabetical, but it's different people perceive things different ways. But are you saying you want that left out?
No, I'm just saying when we put it together, it needs to be all of the ideas, and then they have to be defined out even a little bit. You may need to have a little bit of a key for the survey to make sure that people understand what these individual things are.
Okay, some more explanation.
Because they're not they're not just jumping out there at me.
Okay.
Anyhow, that's all I have for that right now.
All right, so can we just postpone the survey then? Unless you have some other things you want to use for
Postpone it
questions.
to when?
We just said 3 months for this.
No, I don't want to postpone it 3 months. I was asking if that's what Leonard wanted.
I don't think it'll even take 3 months. If the interlocal agreement comes back the way it's been explained to us, and if the development district gets our approval out and we can find a firm, then probably by March we should be able to have some consistent information for
maybe the
what
next
we're looking
So we'll roll it out in March then?
So Steve, you keep getting to this interlocal agreement and everything that we haven't bought into. At least I haven't heard a consensus on the board yet for the interlocal, other than we'll look into it.
Well, what I did last week was went to the development district meeting.
I was there.
And I presented to the development district because the way the county has explained it to me, they would like to do a capital contribution to this community of $2.5 million to help pay for the building, and then they'd like to provide $250,000 within the next month or two, or 2 or 3 months, to pay for the design, engineering, and planning of the facility. So the attorneys have to kind of hash out exactly what the interlocal agreement looks like. But again, the way it's been explained to me by the county is that they want to do the cash dump, essentially. They do not want to ongoing ownership, maintenance, and operation of that facility. So the development district would be the one that they could donate the cash to, and that would be where the interlocal agreement comes into play. Now, one of the things that the CBD attorney brought up was there might be a way that they can just do the direct donation to CROA and not even have to go through that three-way interlocal agreement. So again, the development district has this with their attorneys, speaking now to the county attorneys to come back with what they think the best solution is for how this could work. And then we'll run it through our attorneys.
Well, again, you start getting into and I'm trying to think of how to say this without sounding elitist. People complain a lot of times from people coming into downtown
Obviously aren't from around here.
that obviously aren't from around here. There you go. Thank you, Cindy. And if we have a public building, how does that work? So if the guy walking through the neighborhood that's on his trip south, maybe to live in the open, wants to come and spend his day in that building, it's now a public building. He can come in and spend the whole day while the whole building's open, as far as I can see. I don't see any way to prohibit that. The library certainly can't prohibit that when you get homeless in there for the whole afternoon.
Library is a free service to any resident in Osceola County to come in and read a book. You can program the gymnasium however you see fit.
The lobby?
The lobby may be different.
The lobby's open, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, you can program it. What are you going to have in the lobby? Are you going to put a library in the library?
Look what we have in our lobby out here. You've got some nice seats. It's a warm place.
It just depends on what you put in the building.
I'm just pointing out the parade of horrors, let's say, that no one has talked about yet.
Right, but the question has been asked to the county, will we be able to control the programming and the registration and booking of that building? And the answer's been yes. Again, the proof is in the contract, I would say, I guess.
It is.
The contract back, and that would be the language that would be in there. But you do have public usage of your CROA facilities right now, above and beyond just the school. You all have approved a recreation program plan that allows the public, outside of just Celebration residents, to utilize these facilities. It's the very last priority after everything else is booked, but it's still a public use.
We have approved it if we want to approve it.
I'm sorry?
We have approved it if we want to approve it. In other words, the last two sections on our recreation plan aren't like, you have to rent me this room because it's in your recreation plan.
No, but
it's not there.
Right. But
in a public facility, it is there.
According to the conversation I have with the county, just having the ability for public to use, which again, no different than the mentality that we have now. If the public wants to rent Lakeside, Jones Room, and everything else has gone through the entire prioritization list and no one else has booked, we have not turned away the revenue. We book it. We'll book it for a wedding, or we'll book it for a get-together, whatever that is. And we bring a little bit of dollars.
So if the clan wants to book that, you're going to book it?
If the what?
The clan?
I don't think that.
No, but see, that's the difference, that you have the ability to book or not book.
Right, and I'm saying you still have that ability.
Not in a public facility.
Well, that's not the way that the county has it.
Well, I think they're sugarcoating a lot of things right now, and if they will bring us a solid upfront contract, we can start looking at it and trying to decide whether to go this way at all. But I'm not sold on that. We also will then accept all the, like we do every time we rent this building out, we take on the additional liability. County, of course, has sovereign immunity against that if it was their unit.
Sure, and we have proof of insurance requirements for all of our buildings.
I'm just, the 2.5 million sounds nice. The future ramifications of accepting it may not be so nice.
Well, that's what you have to establish in the contract.
Yeah.
So
I'm finished.
Okay. Steve, where is the county commissioner, Peggy Chowdhury, on this?
I have not had a direct conversation with her about this, but this stemmed from a conversation with Commissioner Chowdhury where we had lunch with her and we brought the plans and showed her Pacific Corridor Park, the athletic fields, and we talked to her about the possibility of acquiring that land. So I believe through the conversation that she had with Beth Day and I, they sent county representatives out here to discuss this capital contribution. You have to remember also that the county...
No. You met with her and who else?
I met with her with, I believe it was Jack.
Yeah, it was a luncheon we had with the CD at the CDD building.
Yeah.
The one like last month? Or?
No, it was back in
A couple months.
October, November is the first quarterly meeting that she had.
And I think what Commissioner...
She had a quarterly meeting and the board didn't know?
No, it was just invited that...
we were invited by the...
We were invited by the...
representative.
Yeah, the district invited us.
Okay.
And I think what Commissioner Chowdhury, just changing gears a little bit, what Commissioner Chowdhury and what her aide are trying to do is, because I know Debbie and Dave had met with Commissioner Chowdhury, and then you and I met through the development district with her, I think she's trying to consolidate this all into one meeting so that she doesn't have multiple meetings.
Yeah.
So that's what we just need to get some clarification as we move forward of who we want the CROA representatives to be and who are going to be the development district. I think Lee was approved by the development district board to be their representative.
Did you send that out to someone from CDD to send out? Because
Yeah, the original email that came from Commissioner Chowdhury's office was to Lee and to us that were invited through that Lee connection. So
right, but I don't think Lee sent it out. She sent it to me in one of
the exact same email that she had sent us. So.
Right.
Well, and I don't think the entire board wants to meet with her because
I agree, but I'm just saying. I just want to make sure it gets translated
at the next meeting. Who your representatives are going to be to meet with Commissioner Chowdhury, 2 or 3. Then that way I can just include them in ongoing meeting invitations.
Okay.
You had another question?
No, just that we're working on the county stuff together, so if you have another meeting concerning the county, would you please let me know?
She said the next meeting was in March, is that what?
Well, if you have anything between now and March with the county, let me know.
I don't have anything going on that I know of. Okay, so we're done with that? All right, let's talk about handbill distribution. Okay, I had an email from Ron Cole that mentioned if we have no solicitation signs posted properly, then we should be able to get some help from the county on this. And Eric went around and said, I think there's one missing at Spring Lake. Can we check around and make sure that we have no solicitation signs in accordance with what Eric sent?
Wasn't he saying that it would be wise to replace those non-solicitation signs with the ones that are more elaborate?
Proper wording.
Yeah, with proper wording.
Talks about no handbills and all that kind of
stuff. Yeah, and the reason for this is not only just handbills, it's also for newspapers that are indiscriminately thrown in your driveway or in the front lawn, whatever it is there, by people that you don't have business with.
I think we'd want to replace all those non-solicitation signs with these more elaborate ones, and even add some into some spots.
And find out where they should go from them before they'll be able to enforce.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, you were going to talk about the Civic Court itself, though, the RFP.
Yes. What we've been talking about is 2 phases to this project. Phase 1 has been what you've been working on for over a year now, which is the athletic field. And our obstacle last year was trying to identify how to get the access road actually to the athletic field. And we solved that by purchasing the golf course property. So the designs are 100% complete, and they're already going through permitting processes. So the Danny Bumpus and Associates has submitted the RFPs today, and they've gone out to a few different firms. But where there's a pre-construction conference on the 25th of January, I believe. It's going to be at the CDD building, and then all proposals are due back to him on February 13th. It gives us time to review the proposals and bring them back to you for a vote at the February meeting, which will be the last meeting of this board before the elections.
Have we closed on that golf property?
There was a deposit that was submitted.
We've done the deposit, and I believe the closing is January 29th, or did it get moved?
Was it 15th? Through the 15th of February, I thought.
Is it? Okay.
I can't remember. It's been, that's pulling out of an email here somewhere.
So there's been acceptance by both sides, though.
Right. Right.
And the project for the athletic fields consists of now the road, the sidewalk, and then parking lot on the athletic field property. 3 fields, 2 of them are natural turf, 1 is synthetic turf, and then there's a sidewalk that goes throughout the parking lot there, or throughout the complex. The additions that we've added in there are 2 pavilions, 2 covered pavilions. A tot lot, and then a 5 to 12-year-old playground, and then 5 exercise stations throughout that facility. So those are all additions that, depending on how much we have, they'll be bid on, but they'll be bid on as separate additions. So you can pick and choose what you want to do when it comes back. But hopefully we can get the construction contract approved in February, and then break ground in March or April, with about a 6 to 8 month time frame for construction.
Great. That'd be great. All right, the last thing I have is the Celebration High School has asked for some help. They are going to be trying to march at the Magic Kingdom February 7th. I know there are some opposing feelings about doing this.
Jack, I actually have an update for this.
Okay.
Which I think Tom's withdrawing his request, and I can. He really didn't want us to do it on camera.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I'd like to read an email he sent to us, and said, "Everyone, we are approaching our deadline with Disney to purchase tickets for these marching band kids, and would like to reach out to everyone to ask for any donation possible for the Sound of the Storm marching band. They are looking to be the first Celebration School to march at the Magic Kingdom on February 7th at 2:30 p.m. Any assistance would be welcome. We have received $5, $50 plus from folks, and it really makes a difference. You can click on the link below and We can send it out in the Friday Flash if you don't mind.
It has been. It's been
Okay.
over the last 2 months.
Where you can donate money directly to the school or make checks payable to Celebration High School, and make sure that you write marching band on the memo line and on the envelope when you turn it, and make sure it goes to the correct program. I think it's a good deal. Okay, it may not be appropriate for us to donate CROA funds for it, but I'm going to go around the room. Okay, so
We already gave.
We wrote our check.
I know you guys gave. I know
We wrote a check.
Paul already gave. There's $100 right there. Okay, so please send it to your friends. Let's get it out there. Okay,
It's $83 per.
How much?
87.
How much are they short?
I thought 73.
Huh?
We know how much?
I believe they're going about $1,300 short.
Yeah, I think he said 17 this morning, but they've gotten a few more donations. So again, if you need a link to the GoFundMe, please email me. I can get that for you, or go to the Friday Flash. It's right in there. And I believe it's on Facebook and a couple other places. But yeah, spread the word wherever you can, because the high school kids, they can't all afford the admission into Magic Kingdom, but it's a wonderful opportunity for them to march.
You know, and although we are formerly Disney property and influenced heavily by Disney, they will not cut us a deal. It's $87 per non-resident or per person, unless you have an annual pass, and that's $29. And then we have six additional people that are chaperones, and if they've got an annual pass, they're okay. It's only $29 for them, but still it costs money, and it's around over $7,000 to do this whole thing. So
Yeah, there's over 50 members of the band.
99 members.
99 members.
All right. So anybody else have anything additional to add? I guess the only other thing we have is that ADA thing. I don't want to post that on social media. If we need to post that on the...
No, but I will give you a quick update. There's a posting that's going on right now about none of the lifts, the handicap lifts working in the pool. They've all been checked daily and they're all operational. There was a comment about a certified letter that was sent to us. I still have not seen that certified letter, and if it was sent to us, I need to know, because I need to know who signed for it, so that I can find out what happened to it. But no one here has seen a certified letter or proof of the certified letter.
And that certified letter they talked about was mentioned in the initial filing of that suit, but it was not presented to the court either. So
Doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist in my
I
mind.
don't know where it is, but I will say though that we want the lifts and the ADA accessibility of the pools to be completely operational. If there's anything that we can improve, we'll look to improve on it. But right now, all the lifts are working, and I would say you can't always believe everything you see on Facebook.
Well, Steve, I think it's not a matter of, obviously, we don't want to respond because this is a legal matter, but when there's 4,000 people on a site and we don't even say we can't respond because it's a legal matter, it's difficult. It comes across as apathy and uncaring. And usually there's just a pat PR statement, and I think we've had this before in the past 21 years, that you say this is matters under litigation and it can't be responded
The
to.
Facebook page is a closed private Facebook page that the Owners Association is not a member of. Anything else comes from personal Facebook accounts. So it's been your policy to not respond on an unofficial communication medium.
I don't know that that was our policy. We talked before long about the communication, about that these needed to be responded to, and there was discussion that they would be addressed, and they never were. So we can address that. Can we add communication to our next meeting?
Sure. In 2016,
16 is when we talked about this.
right,
Yeah.
there was a communication workshop, and it was identified in the communication plan that we would not be responding on unofficial Facebook pages. We did say that we would monitor for things that needed to be addressed, but they would be addressed through your official communication mediums.
Okay. Did you address it through the official medium? So it could be, at least people could be directed there by a board member if they were a member?
Well, most of the responses and things that we address through those mediums come from direct questions to us. And this is not a direct question. This is somebody making a statement on Facebook that we're disputing what's being said. I mean, and through a legal case. So our attorney just gave legal opinion that you don't try cases on Facebook.
I'm not saying to try the case. I'm just saying we can address them to just a standard response for anything that's in litigation.
I would be more
so that they know
comfortable.
where.
I would be more comfortable if it was direction, one voice direction from the board on how you would like us to respond on that. But I mean.
Well, let's discuss at the next meeting.
To our next meeting.
Yeah, let's discuss at the next meeting. Yeah, please. Yeah.
All right, additional items?
Can you announce yet who's running for the board or no?
I don't know. I guess I can.
Well, while you're looking for that, I just want to congratulate whichever residents.
Several on my desk that I have not looked at.
Oh, okay. So you got some new ones coming in.
After 5 o'clock. And
Really?
I will get them all to you tomorrow.
Okay.
But as of before I came in this meeting, I had 14.
Whoa.
For 4 positions.
I have at least 2 on my desk.
Just want to congratulate all the residents that did step up, and obviously we have 4 positions, and if 14 or more are running, that's wonderful. And if you are not elected, I would be thrilled if you could serve on a committee or volunteer in some capacity, and thank you.
All right, anything else? Leonard? Steve? All right. Let's adjourn.
Let me turn off the camera real quick.
Who's this?
That's my daughter-in-law, Kristen.
Okay. She looks like your wife. Oh no, your daughter-in-law.